Hello and welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we're doing podcast episode number 3 with a special guest. But first, if you're not aware, podcast is about Minecraft events. We talk with people from different areas of the community to get different perspectives on how things work. Also, we're in MCCI fishing. And here's our guest, Anthos.
Hey, hi.
He's so excited.
Yeah, such a great time to be on the show.
Yes, beautiful.
Uh,
But yeah, today we have Anthos. I have a bunch of questions. They're on the screen right now, and now I shall
Yeah.
hide the screen. And boom. Okay, cool. Yes. So, first of all, I guess as an introductory question, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic here, Alex. You know, it's
Beautiful.
great weather outside. It's just good time for games, really.
It's a little dark outside, but yeah, good enough. All right. Anyways, enough intro. Anthos, how long have you been in the Minecraft event space?
Oh, if you want to be real technical, technically 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2021 you had like dot wave events, and also Gav1N events. But that was kind of like I was just kind of here and there, not really interacting that much with like the Minecraft event con. But if you want to talk about like be a bit stricter with it and be like, oh, interacting directly with Minecraft event com, being part of like a bigger event, then that would be with Block Wars in June 2023 Pride event. And that was my little introduction to everything, and been here ever since.
Hell yeah. I mean, that kind of led to you not necessarily meeting a lot of the people that I would say are your closer friends now, but more so, well, to an extent, meeting, but more
I
like,
will say Block Wars is the perfect way for me to just hang out with my friends. I love
yeah.
it. It's great.
It's more like in terms of like the pals, right? It introduced you to some of the pals, like being in Blockwars, but I feel like you already like half knew a good amount of them. Like it's more like
Yeah.
knew of. It's just like it kind of solidified that friendship from like a connection to a friendship, which I
Yeah.
think is nice. Yeah, I mean, because that's the first and only time we did a Pride event, which was
Yeah.
2023. I remember inviting you because I think we were looking at LGBTQ plus people between me and Misty that we knew, and I just had you brought up because Misty and I were just. I think Misty might have been on a thing recently at the time. Where the name was
Well,
brought up, or
actually,
me.
Wolfie, why you considered me was because I had you on one block,
That is, yeah, it
and
was me then, yeah.
and yeah, and I was able to flex on you pretty hard with my connection.
Mm-hmm.
You were under my spell, it seemed.
I mean, the thing is like I think we invited you just as like a dude, right? Just as a guy, like friend,
Yeah, yeah,
just invited, and then the involvement with the block wars after I think was just because you invited I think it was Line Chu and Ashley to the
And
team, right?
Ashley Urbano, yeah.
Yeah, and we are just like, I mean, you were just like, oh yeah, if you like need more or something, just ask or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact details. It's something where like you offered to bring people in, and then it just like developed from there into, you know
And
what,
also, it seemed I was expected to be a lot better than I was that event.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but
Uh,
yeah, because I think that literally just developed from like, oh, I can bring people to just literally right after being a player manager, right?
yeah. It was surprisingly quick. I'll
Yes.
say in retrospect.
It was, yes.
One event, I'm just some kind of guy there, invited to be. The next, it's like, hey, Anthos, buddy, pal.
Mm-hmm.
It's, quick,
Yeah.
quick.
All right. Then I think a good follow-up question, consider we mentioned connects and kind of that involvement, is if you would like to introduce the audience to how you got all these connects. How did one block exist, and what is one block?
One block every day. It's my kind of like Twitter project. I started in like I want to say like November 2020, where I place a block in Minecraft every day to slowly build a house.
Mhm.
It didn't start off with like guests and stuff, but at some point along the way, I just started having like friends on who were like content creators, and it developed heavily from there. It kind of it accelerated fast. It's like 1 week I was having on like Prezzo or whatever as one of my first guests, and then like 6 months later I'm having on Ludwig
Right.
post his subathon. So it's just insane.
Because one block, that was just like a random blow up moment, right? It was just like you made the account.
Well, okay. I wouldn't say entirely random. I was friends with someone who ran a Minecraft meme account at the time. And I had this idea. I told them about it. I was like, okay, hey, would this be cool? They were like, yeah, yeah, sure. And so like I made the account. I retweeted it on that Minecraft meme account, and just instantly it blew up like insanely hard.
Yeah, that's
that
crazy.
was like peak COVID though, so that was probably a heavy hand in that. But it was still just like I think it was like 200,000 likes within like a day.
That's insane.
Like that. Something insane. Yeah, no.
That's absolutely insane. I mean, that's just cool, right? It's just like a random idea has now just had so much influence on kind of what you do, mostly online, right? But I guess previously on a day-to-day basis at least, just influence like how your life goes with just knowing all these people. It's crazy.
It's tiring scheduling content creators to do stuff. It's the
Yes.
most unreliable group of people in existence.
Yes, we can get into that. Maybe I mean we could get into it now, but we could actually get into it with the next question as well. Because actually, I think one thing that's good to mention is how would you say like that chain reaction of getting to know people happened with one block, right? Because you have like this big moment, but like how do you advertise that to someone? Do they ask to come on? Do you like pitch it, or
it was like a fusion of things. It's just like one block very quickly told me, I mean, well, not told me, but like taught me that it is good to just go for it, to just push your advantage when you have it. It's like I have this massive platform which I can have people on and that they'd want to be on because it is just so big, it is so insane. And I feel like that kind of, okay, this is gonna make me sound kind of bad. I had an ego about it, like after a week, because it was just like I got like near 400,000 followers within a week. The account was blowing up like there was no tomorrow. It was just like I kind of just felt like I could just invite people, and just they'd say yes, and they did, and that's how that got so far.
Yeah,
It's just me going for it, me just going up to these people and just being like, hey, you want to come on one block? And then other people being like, oh, hey, I want to come on because I see my friends on here.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? It's just like, I feel like a lot of the modern day viewers either weren't really like involved with the audience that interacted with one block, or just don't know about it really until like, they discovered, or until we mentioned it. Like, it's interesting to see like how that was such a big deal at some point, like such a huge deal within Minecraft to have the one block account, and then to just see like it has so much influence, just long term, of course, right? Because of look at blockwars now, look at who's being invited, but it's just funny to see like how like the newer audience obviously just kind of missed that. It's like crazy, because for me it's like, oh, that was like every day I'd see that and be like, oh my god, a new post, and now it's like, oh yeah,
a new post, a new guest, like, oh my god, you got that person.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right.
Yeah, a whole lot of people don't remember it. I mean, it's been going for like 4 years now. It's been going a while.
Yeah, you're at like block number like 700 something, right?
No, we're getting close to 1,000 now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so yeah.
Never mind, I missed a couple, I think. All right. I guess a nice segue. Next question is just, what has the experience been like as a player manager for Block Wars, in which you can bring up the difficulties and the positives, I guess, at the same time.
Okay, so I mean, being a player manager of Block Wars, you are permanently in two modes. Either one, we're so back, as in, we just got a big guest scheduled for Block Wars. We get the team idea we wanted to do actually happen. That kind of thing is like, there is like a bit of an adrenaline behind it. There is just a knowing, things are going well.
Right.
And then in the other corner, especially towards rookies events, is oh fuck,
it's over.
Oh no. Where it's like, we're a week before event or something and we still don't have a full roster. What do you mean? It's stuff like that.
It's
It's just
here, I'll put a image in the chat for us. I'll put it on the screen a bit too.
yeah.
It's just that.
It is. I mean, being a team, a player manager for blockwars is just a constant back and forth of just, oh, things are going so well, and why is it not happening at all?
Yeah.
It is. It is just. There's never like a dull event season with
Hmm.
blockwars. I like to think there is always either something great that's happening for us, or there is something very bad that's happening, and
Hmm.
we're like, oh, what can we do?
I think that applies to most events. I think this upcoming roster has kind of been one of the more chill ones. I think this Block
Yeah.
Wars 15 one, which is not public by the time this goes out,
Yeah.
and we mostly know who's in and not. It's just like pretty chill for the most part. There's definitely
I mean,
been people and things where I'm just like, really, but and people that I would expect to maybe play who didn't, or people I wouldn't expect to play who did. Like obviously a mix, but there's not much where we're like actively seeking out people to have in and they're not responding, or we're actually inviting a bunch of people for this one and they are responding. Like we're just kind of chilling this time around,
mm. Yeah,
and
no,
there's
I
not
feel
like there's not like a crazy positive or a crazy negative. It's just like kind of neutral.
I feel like that's kind of just the culmination of our work together. It's like we now just have a solid foundation to make rosters with.
Hmm.
To unique fusions of like Minecrafters and variety people.
It
We're
is cool
confident.
to see, yeah, that like
Yeah.
natural balance between variety and main event players.
Mm.
Because I remember specifically for the Twitch Rivals event, I looked at the roster we actually had, and I was surprised at the amount of variety that was actually in the roster. Because I expected it to
Yeah.
mostly be Minecrafters for whatever reason, and we still had like almost 50% variety people in that
Yeah.
roster, which is sick. And I feel like we usually have like maybe like slightly below half or around half of the people are variety people, kind of naturally. Not that everyone signs up. We invite some people too, but it does kind of just happen. We just don't do it. We don't even pay attention to adding more variety. We're never like, oh, this roster's too Minecrafty. We should add more like VTubers or something, right? We don't really do that.
Mm.
It's mostly just like, let's make teams balanced and fun and see what happens. And it's naturally just creates a roster that's 50-50 or close to 50-50 Minecrafters and non-Minecrafters, which I think is great. I mean, it's very iconic for Blockwars, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
what we're
I
known
mean, that's
for.
definitely one of the things I enjoy most about being a player manager for Block Wars is just like being able to work with all these kinds of people.
Hmm.
Just making things happen, like putting people together and seeing how they interact.
Yep.
Like for especially like when the times it works really well, like when we had Handsome, Joe Bart, and Sneak Snack together for
Hmm.
Blue Bears Block Wars 10.
Yep.
Like those guys hit it off. They hit it off well, much better than I had ever anticipated.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've definitely had. It's funny. Blockwars has been not necessarily maybe the instigator behind some people's friendships, but maybe like well, for some yes, but more so the catalyst, right? Like
yeah,
Joe and Handsome, I think knew of each other at the time that we were putting them on the same team, but I don't think they were like proper friends, and I
yeah,
feel
like
like
that
yeah.
event was like a proper introduction to each other.
Yeah, which like that's just
Right.
so cool to see that like that's so we had that influence on people, and the same with
Yeah.
the event following the Rookies 2, where Puffer and Pezzy were thrown into the mix. Like at TwitchCon NA this past year, they took a picture together, all five of them being like the boys, and that was the team we made for them. Like it's
Yeah.
so sick to see like that come together and us clearly have a pretty good understanding of, for the most part, how certain creators will click together, even if they don't actually properly know each other super well. Which is, I mean, that's just a talent, really, at that point, right? To be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Also, furthermore, I mean, there's also the some of the Super Mario hide and seek squad, like
Ooh, yeah,
Smant and Fur and CJ. Obviously, were already together, but I'm fairly sure that around the time that like Spiff was teamed with them and Aggie was themed with them, you saw them appear in that content pretty often as well. which is pretty interesting because I assume they maybe knew each other or of each other somewhat already, but I feel like blockwars did help establish that connection a little bit more because
Yeah.
they obviously now have done content together. They've properly been in the same environment for hours, really playing this Minecraft event, and clearly it's popular enough. People want to see it, and maybe if there's an interest for Minecraft or sorry for Mario past that, it works too. So yeah. Okay, I think that mostly covers the majority of player management and
Yeah.
introductory stuff. Now, on the sense of you as a player, I think is also
Oh.
interesting to look at. Or more, so, I guess this is not really a player, but this is more like a as a player manager looking at other events. How much attention do you pay to events like MCC or PB, like how they're handled, and if you have any
Uh,
like strong opinions on if you
okay.
know like or dislike certain things.
Um. Okay. So, I mean, putting my hands on the table here. Being fair about it.
Mm-hmm.
So other events, I don't pay the most attention to other events. I'll be perfectly honest.
Right.
Besides Block Wars, because Block Wars is my neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
my playground, so to say. So gotta keep my fingers in the pie on that. But for other events like MCC, Pandora's Box, things of that ilk. Um, I mean, I guess I could just give you my raw perception of MCC
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. For MCC, I just view it as like just the Minecraft event that's always been there
Right.
and kind of probably will always be there.
Right.
It's the biggest,
Most established, like
most
most
established,
polished, most
most
popular.
polished.
Yeah. It's like yeah.
It's like there's not many like Minecraft events out there with like with merch, plushies,
Mm-hmm.
card game, doing like live in-person events at Twitch rivals. I feel like that's only really a thing that happens for MCC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while at most for like for an event like ours, or for as much as I enjoy it, the most we're currently able to do is a Twitch rivals online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while they're able to do like so much more, and honestly, I have a lot. I find it very impressive.
It is very
A lot
impressive.
of I have a lot of respect for Scott's Major for what him and Noxcrew have been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I respect the whole thing. But like my only issue with MCC is that like I see teams come out and I just like it feels boring. I don't know.
I understand that. Yeah.
It's just like, oh look, it's like Gizzy Gaza or Kratzy or whoever.
Right. I mean, yeah,
Uh,
the like staple friend like
yeah,
inclusions.
it's an event made for people. It's an event for like a certain friend group, which is respectable. Like
Mm-hmm.
they know each other very well. They all get along pretty well. But it's just like I feel like as a viewer, as someone outside of it, it's just not that interesting to me. I mean, granted, I know I kind of have bias because
Right.
I'm part of Block Wars, but as someone from the outside, it's just like I don't know. It feels the same-ish. It feels very similar. Event in and event out.
Mm-hmm. I
If you
think.
showed me a
Yeah.
if you showed me a team from an event and just like didn't tell me which one it was, like I could not pinpoint it for you unless it was like something super unique.
Right. I think that's
Yeah.
where season 4 of MCC stands out a bit further from past seasons. If season 4 had not happened, I would be 100% on the same boat. I would be 100% in agreement. And I did at the time. I was like, MCC is stale. They need to switch things up. Season 4, they did a better job, but I still understand for like the regular events that don't really change like the competitiveness or don't really change the invites, etc. How those can feel kind of the same every time because it is kind of the same every time. MCC doesn't have half their roster swap in and out every single event. Sometimes they do, but not all the time. As opposed to obviously like Blockwars does do that, and sometimes with the rookies twice a year, almost the entire roster swaps out. It's just yeah. I mean it's shown in our opinion on how things work and Misty's opinion as well on how things work and how that influences how Blockwars is handled because we are the variety event. We literally
Yeah.
stand by variety. I think the only aspect of Blockwars that currently doesn't really uphold the variety standard is that the gameplay is mostly the same right now between events, but that's a different conversation.
But it is interesting to look at like how MCC's handle roster versus like Block Wars because for Block Wars it's like it's hard to find two events with a similar roster like
Hmm.
next to each other. Like
Yes.
Block Wars 9 versus Block Wars 10, like I wouldn't say radically different, but they are just like two different vibes, two different skill sets.
Right.
There, it's interesting.
I
That's
mean,
what I like about it a lot.
and I guess this is for the audience that sticks around long enough to watch into videos, a bit of a hint at what's coming. Block Wars 14, 15, and 16 are going to all feel entirely different as well, right? 14 has only been announced so far, but we know 15 already is a little more unique in its own way. And we have plans for what would happen with 16 that's also going to be, hopefully, if we, actually follow through, going to feel unique in a sense, while being the same event, right? In terms of gameplay, it's pretty much the same thing, but that roster approach is wholly a new approach, which I think is interesting. It just makes it so you never go into a Block Wars team announcement like a stream or whatever, right? Expecting something every single time. You can't just be like, well, there's probably gonna be, I don't know, this YouTuber, this streamer, blah blah blah, all together again, or this group is together again. You're gonna be like, I wonder who's gonna get team with the VTubers this time. I wonder who's gonna, be together. I wonder what special crossover there's gonna be this time, because obviously, with me being the main team maker, I mean, I try. If we can, there's always going to be something unique. Last time we had a crazy crossover between Hermits and Lifesteal, and then Realm SMP, and then Shane and Joel on the same team, and then Jimmy as well thrown in there with all those crossovers at the same time. Like a one team that hits like every mark pretty much. And continuing forward, I mean, those types of teams are rare. We're not going to have that every single time, but like, you will see that more like attention to variety, whether it's within communities or with outsider communities, like BTMC from Osu coming in, or VTubers, or maybe SK from Overwatch, right? Like stuff like that, combining together, I think is interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that's MCC. I do agree mostly on the sentiment with MCC. Mm-hmm. It's like, they've been doing a good job with Season 4, but the regular event does still feel the same, which it does appeal to a different audience. Not every event's going to appeal to everyone. I'm more of a fan, and I assume you would be more of a fan of the special ones that MCC does. The Prides or the Ender Cups or the whatever, right?
I mean, I enjoyed Party when that happened.
Party 2 or Party 1?
Was
it the one from this last December or the one from the year before?
Last December, sure.
This most recent? Yeah, I mean, that one... Yeah. That one, roster-wise, I think was a little different. Event-wise, it's very different. That's definitely a very mixed reception event, because the custom feature they did was very impactful on the event, and it wasn't the most enjoyable part. But I do understand, like, so for some people that might be perfect. Maybe you really want to do that, right? Maybe that is right up your alley.
I mean, I enjoy like the radical change the formula.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very cool. Yeah,
it's unique.
That's what I loved about Party 1. Party 1 was literally just Mario Party. As like MCC, I thought that was super cool. That was like super sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of like other events, like Pandora's Box,
right.
for example. Pandora's Box that's the competitive event, just outright in my eyes. And it works for them. I mean, that's a market, and that's like a kind of event a whole lot of people don't cater towards, more or less.
Right.
Because like from what like I understand, Pandora's Box's goal is to be geared towards competitive players.
Nowadays, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And they play into that, and it works well for them. It works great. It's an event made for people who are actually good at the game. But for someone like me who isn't, it kinda sucks. I enjoy Pandora's Box, but you can only handle being dunked on so many times. It's not to say like lower skill players can't enjoy the event. It is just like
harder.
It's harder.
Yeah, it's harder.
It's just like if someone like like a Giga or a Meow Mooney or even like Quiet, I think, like played the event, like I don't know how much they'd enjoy it because you know you're gonna have like a life stealer or you know people of that nature who are just good and just zone in on them, and then just like they can't really do a whole lot, even with like a competent leader, even with like you know a good support.
Hmm.
Um, which is, you know, that's the case for like a lot of events, but I feel like for Pandora's especially, it's like it's almost punishing to be not a good player. Which,
Kind
okay,
of,
that sounds kind of dumb
but that it's
on
true
accident, but
to an extent.
but like for events though, like Pandora's Box especially, to not be like, you know, at minimum like a mid tier, it is just, you're dragging your team, and you can feel that.
Yeah,
To
and
actually,
now that we're like talking about it, I'm like thinking for PB in terms of long term, maybe expanding their roster and popularizing their roster. Someone like I just will use them as an example, like a Captain Sparkles. With Block Wars, he likes the event, but when it comes to PvP, he does not like the event, and that
mm,
by itself makes it so he won't play very often. Same with small lane, same with etc. Right? Those are the type of people that I assume PB would probably want. I think those are the type of people that PB maybe could expect to get at some point. But I don't know if those people would stick around because
yeah,
if in Block Wars they don't like PvP, considering Extraction, one of the best PvP games, and Battle is, not great. Um, like those two games, and they're not already the biggest fans of PvP, then you go to PB, it's a whole different cookie. You're playing Sky Wars like high comp mode. You're playing survival games, but like high comp mode. You're playing Temple Lockout, which I think Temple Lockout actually would go pretty decent for them. I think because Temple Lockout has like it's not just PvP, but you're gonna PvP regardless. But you have the capture things that you can focus on. There's like strategy to it. There's Minor Mania, which like should be okay maybe, but like still you're gonna have those like Sky Wars or Sky High and SG and stuff where I'm just like PB is running into a wall there, and they shouldn't adjust. They shouldn't adjust for those
yeah,
players to necessarily have a better experience unless the adjustment is add a secondary objective to SG or Sky High or whatever that allows a weaker or less PvP oriented player to contribute. Maybe it'd be fine. But obviously, from your experience, you can confirm, probably for the most part,
mm,
that right now that doesn't like properly exist for the most part. Like a Minor Mania, yes, you could just mine and deposit and be fine. Yeah, Temple Lockout, you could focus on capturing the points, but for the most part, you're mostly going to be forced into fights. And as a more casual player, PvP is a little less
yeah.
appealing. So
It's like I try to imagine just like how someone who doesn't know how to do that kind of stuff like would enjoy the event. Like if you did get a Man Mini up in there, who like doesn't know how to crit, who like isn't the best with a bow,
mhm.
uh, at most is just good, you know, at being told what to do. Well, you know, making jokes and having a good time, of course. And it's just like it's a lot harder to imagine them enjoying it because of that,
Mhm.
those aspects.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously, like much love to them. To like they know their thing and they're going with it, and much respect to that.
Mhm.
So it's just hard to imagine like someone who's not just like someone who isn't just good or just enjoys the competition playing
Yeah.
versus like versus just playing Block Wars.
And I think that's where, in terms of PB, they're going to hit a ceiling in terms of uh, popularity that they can reach. Because if we're being completely honest, and we'll notice from Block Wars, the majority of popularity comes from the people who aren't the best. And then there's like a Feinberg who's huge, right, as a streamer, and like Purple, they're in like Fruit. But like your biggest streamers in Block Wars is like Joe Bart or Giga or like Doki or whatever, right? Something along those lines. Or Joel, I guess at this point now too. And like they're good, or some of them are good, and some of them are like not the greatest at Minecraft. But like PB, I mean maybe Joel would play PB. Joe Bart maybe like once, but for the most part, I don't really see some of the other more like high viewership, popular people even be open to playing because it is just like unappealing,
Yeah.
right? It is competitive.
And it just has a reputation too. Like
That too.
just like if you talk to like Minecrafters about PvP, like they'll say, "Oh, that's the competitive event,"
Hmm.
and that's just it to them.
I mean, that summarizes it pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
I guess, I mean, we mostly already went through question 5 a little bit, but I guess to spin it, the question being, what is the experience like in competitive events as someone who isn't a high tier player, which mostly applies to PB? How would you say you are perceived as a player, and does that ever have impact on you with like how people look at the
I
weaker tier players in something like Pandora's Box?
okay. I mean, generally is just I'm very inconsistent. Is just like I when it comes to competitive stuff, if I'm just not on a team that's really good vibe wise, like I have terrible mental,
Mm.
flat out. And it doesn't help either that like when I do play PB, I am just outright one of the worst players there. Even with like practice and stuff, it's interesting because like in block wars for one event, even if I have a broken team, like and I ended up get 12th, with like
Hmm.
block wars 11 red. Then like I play PB after, and it's like I could have like a similar kind of like level team, so to say, that is like kind of busted, and I'd still like just straight up do worse
Hmm.
because I just don't have the mental for it. And I think I am just kind of expected to do bad in Pandora's Box, which I mean I don't really even disagree with. To like, I admit to myself that like yeah no I'm just not good at PB,
Hmm.
and that does like kind of affect my enjoyment of the competitive element
Yeah,
um,
I think that's
vers-
fair.
versus something like Block Wars.
Hmm.
To
I
yeah.
think I think that extends probably to some other people as well. Um, I just know that with, and this is not, I mean, I don't know any particular people in the PB audience, but you notice this with this, how some people perceive people in Pandora's Box. With a more competitive audience, you're going to get a little bit more toxicity sometimes in how people talk about certain types of people as well, kind of what used to happen with MCC, where
Mm.
if you're not very good at the game, they're not sugarcoating anything. They're just gonna call you shit, and that's it. Like they're just gonna be like, "Oh, they're doing bad. If they complain, they just need to get better at the game," which is a fucking horrible mentality,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But I feel like that. I mean, that's just probably not the most fun thing to look at as well when you're looking at PB and then going to other events and suddenly things are sunshine and rainbows. Like I feel like that's something where um, I struggle sometimes, and I feel like this could apply to others as well. Is like someone who in MCC maybe gets like 10th would go to PB and get like 18th, and mentally, you're looking at 10th out of 40 or 18th out of 32. You're like, damn, like, am I just not that good? Like, then maybe you're gonna be like, I expected to do so much better, or whatever. Mostly, you're gonna look at that and be like more negative leaning in terms of your perception on how you did, and I think sometimes that can have effect. Sometimes it can't. I mean, I think someone like 5 Up probably doesn't really care. Like he's just like, yeah, whatever. I know this is harder, and like I know that in block wars I get like 6th, and in PB I get like 26th, and I don't care. Like that's some people will just be like that, but I feel like for some people, obviously it's who might be playing. It kind of is like a mental like meh thing, and the most important thing is before even considering to play, when it's brought up as an offer to be invited, that might be the reason why they won't, which I think is tough. But yeah.
Yeah. I like the like compare like somewhat similar thing like me playing in Block Wars is it's just a whole different vibe entirely. It's like it's a lot less, I guess, like pressure,
Hmm.
so to say, because it's like Block Wars is like, oh, that's like the thing people go to. They play Minecraft, have fun for a bit, while like PB is like you're at the fucking Olympics of
Hmm.
Minecraft. But like I don't know, for like Block Wars, it is just like it's a cooler vibe. I mean, not to say like I don't get bad mental in Block Wars too.
Hmm.
There are times there's like, and you've seen this too, Wolfie.
Yep.
where it's like I'm not on the best team that is, I won't say demonstrably weaker than the other teams, but like very much is just weaker, and there's not really much we can do about it.
I mean, that also comes into play with inconsistency from players, right? I mean, you've brought it up yourself that you ranged from like top half to bottom 10 sometimes. And this applies to so many people. I mean, I mean, I could think of a couple. And sometimes those people end up on the same team, and then all of them do their lower performance, but sometimes all those people end up on the same team and they all do their higher end of performance, and there's no consistent factor between those teams. That's kind of what happens sometimes. Fortunately, I mean, we both know this. Some people are on the more unfortunate side a bit more often than others, and we should try to compensate whenever we can. But it's just hard. That's just one of the main balancing issues as well with having 5 people over 4 is you can't like take other events as like a proper comparable factor, because you're working with an extra player. Like, we understand in a team of 4 event, if you have a top frag, a good player, a like lower mid, and a bottom frag, that's a balanced team. You go to block wars, you grab all those 4 people. Adding like a middle tier player could do a lot of different things. You could like a Kylef like 20th place player, right? Could get like 20th, could get like 12th, could get like 27th. And we have absolutely no control over that, and that's one small factor could have a huge impact on how well that team actually performs overall. And that's just kind of what happens for some people. I mean, some people just have a player like that just doesn't perform one time, or maybe they overperform one time. Like, that's just how you get that like fluctuating
There's
performance.
No truly predicting how someone will do. And that probably is one of the more frustrating parts about team building.
Yes.
In general, is because we go with a team, we think, oh wow, this is really cool, they're gonna enjoy it. We're just depending on one player or two to like do decent. Then they just like flop. And it's like, oh no, we should have seen that coming, I guess.
But it's also like you look at the event before and you have a similar situation, and that's a 10 placement difference. Like, how are we supposed to know? Like, that's gonna happen. Not to call people out, but a very recent example is like Krinios, for example.
I was thinking him too.
Yeah. His most recent event, Blockwars 14, I think he got in like 33rd or something, 30 something, I don't know. When the event before, on a not strong or OP team at all, just like a regular ass team, got 8th. So how are we supposed to know that? That's gonna happen, right? And obviously, I'm sure other things going on, situational. I don't blame Ryan at all. Like, it's whatever. It happens, right? Sure, doesn't matter. But how are we supposed to know? Like, we can't predict that. So, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's just not sometimes. Usually it's out of our control. Sometimes you have a situation like May, for example, joining a roster. We're told that they're like meh, and then they end up being insane. And then it's like,
okay, I wouldn't say we were told they were meh. Like, Giga told me she was good, but Giga's perception of good, I had no clue of.
Yeah, well, we just assumed that meant they're okay, right?
Yeah.
It turned out, I mean, nowadays, yes, but the first event, maybe not so much. First event getting 14th, interesting.
It is interesting to see like how like things like that do affect perception of how people place. Because after I got like 12th, Block Wars 11, when people were making predictions, they were putting me out like consistently like, anywhere from like 24th to 15th. And it was just like, I'm sorry to say, brother, that ain't happening.
Yeah, bottom 10 is calling your name.
Yeah, no, I'm about to fraud out. So, but yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, that kind of does play too into like the whole leader component of Block Wars. There are so many players that are dependent on someone telling them what to do good as well.
Yes.
So, I feel like that impacted me and you a bit when like we were teamed together at BTMC.
A little, yeah.
Because like I mean, they're not that bad. Like MREC's all right, BTMC's all right, me and you are all right. It's just like we didn't really have a strong leader, or at least someone to give good comms, and we faltered in that.
It was
So
also
I like
like we over expected BTMC to perform.
Yeah, I
You just
mean,
had an
base troll
insane pop
Minecraft.
off.
Yeah.
I think I had myself rated a little higher as well. It's just all these factors. This is what I mean. It's like on paper, this looked balanced. I mean, yeah, with
Yeah.
your recent performance being strong, we didn't expect you to get 12th. We just thought, oh, maybe he gets like 20 to 25, right? And like Poundy gets like 25 to 30, and BTMC he should be our second frag. He gets like top half, and I'm like top 10, and then Embreck's probably also like around 30. That was the expectation, and that would have been balanced, but
Mm.
definitely didn't happen. Almost the opposite, but yeah.
Who
Either way,
ended up being the top frag? Was it you or Poundy?
it was me. Poundy was the second frag though.
Okay,
Poundy was
gotcha.
intended to be the fourth frag, and he was second fragging, and then
Dang.
I don't even remember who third or fourth, fifth fragged. I think fifth was probably Emmerich, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, moving along with questions. I guess it's kind of a follow-up question to how events are perceived. Would you say events are like stressful to you, and does it ever have like a proper negative effect on you as well?
It depends on the kind of team. Because, like, if it's a team of just my friends, then yeah, like, it's not really that stressful because it's just like I'm hanging out with Quiet Toma and whoever the fuck. I mean, really, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does suck if we lose hard, but like, I mean, it sucks regardless if we lose hard. But I would say like for teams like that, like I'm not too stressed. It's just like I'm with my friends, we're having a good time. But if it's for someone I feel like I haven't really ever talked to before, and I feel the need to perform a little, so to say,
Mm-hmm.
so like, oh, hey, so like they can enjoy it, a bit more, because like they're a newcomer or someone who doesn't really play. Then yeah, no, that is like a little stressful. I will say, I don't even really intentionally try to perform for someone like that. It is just like in my mind, it's like I really want them to enjoy this, um, which like personally can be stressful if I'm just not doing good. Uh, Probably one of the least stressful teams I've like ever had was Block Wars like 11, Red Team,
Makes
Rookies
sense.
3,
Yeah.
your yellow team, yeah, that kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
it's just like we're good. We're
Yeah.
just we're cruising. I'm not worried about a fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like where I get into my kind of flow state and do actually like perform a little better than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I get into my head a lot when it comes to events and that kind of thing, because like there is like somewhat of an expectation for me to perform a certain way. Because like if the current team I'm on, right now for this upcoming event, I get like 40th or something.
Well,
Like
that's not happening,
it's
but yeah.
yeah, it won't happen. I mean, but like if something of that direness happened, it's like, oh no, that
Mm-hmm.
does not spell great things.
I do feel though
But
with who's on your team, without obviously revealing who's on the team, I think you're
yeah,
in a more comfortable spot.
yeah,
It's majority of your team you've teamed before.
yeah, yeah,
Like you'll be familiar already, right?
yeah,
You have a solid leader on your team, maybe even two,
yeah.
you know, and you'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, no, no, I'm not like too
Mhm.
stressed about it. It's I find it a little. Okay, this may sound rude, but like I find it a little silly to be like straight up, just like stressed about it. Just like fucking, you just don't
Um,
even want to play at that point.
it depends. It depends on what
Like,
event it is. I think block wars to an extent I can agree, unless it's like someone's first block wars and they really wanted to play. I understand, right? Sure.
mm,
But after you're like third, fifth, whatever block wars, and you're going
yeah,
in
yeah,
like stressed out of your mind, I'm like, I mean, it's
yeah.
you've played these games before. I mean, I'm just saying.
Like I would get being kind of stressed if you're playing like PB for the first time or MCC for the first time, because like for one, it's like it's a test of your skill, more or less, to the competitive community, which I would get like being like, oh, I need to do like decent,
Hmm.
or like for MCC where it's like you're on just such this giant podium, so like you feel like you have to do well for the audience. Um, that's like another thing I kind of like about blockwars. It's like more lax, so to say.
Hmm.
So there's not so much like stress about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's just a casual environment for the most part, with an element of competitiveness, obviously, to it as well.
Yeah.
But more secondary, I think, which is nice.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, I guess. Just gonna not skip a question, but just move one ahead because I think it's more relevant now. What would you say is your favorite micro event team ever from any event? You can name multiple if you want,
Okay.
but
I mean, it's all block war teams. I mean, just being honest with you,
hmm.
but like the top three easily are like more recent teams actually. Because like there have been plenty of teams in the past where like I've quite enjoyed and I've had a good time with my teammates and that kind of thing. But I feel like well, starting from Block Wars 11 onward, it's like I feel like a different vibe towards it.
Hmm.
And even if okay, and even if someone's not, it's like, well, yeah, of course you enjoyed Block Wars 11 because your team won hard.
Hmm.
But like that was a good vibe. You have Cam and Purple running comms. Giving us directions. We're doing good. May's having a great time.
Hmm.
Giga's enjoying it. That was just chill. That was just like I love that. Obviously now I'm never getting something like that again, because I'm going to probably overperform. But I'm probably not May. But like outside of like something like that for like more kind of middle of the pack, or even like bottom teams, Black Wars 10 Blue Bears,
Right.
just straight up like. I know some people talk about it like it's one of the best teams in Block Wars, and I have to tell you, I agree. There's nothing that could really beat it, and especially beat its impact as teams go.
100%. Yes.
That's just an all-timer for me. And when we got to run back most of that, for Twitch Rivals, I was hyped. That was fun. Great.
I mean,
now the 7-minute breaks. Not a big fan, but not a whole lot of change in that.
Yeah. Definitely. Good point. I forgot about that one. I would say from talking, maybe I misinterpreted past things you've said. Mayhem. Didn't you have a team in Mayhem that you mentioned that stands out?
That did. Okay. So Red Hoon's team, that did win. And I did quite enjoy that, but like, I don't know. Comparing that is because like that was a team of me, 4C, Red Hoons, and Sandwich. And I did enjoy it quite a bit.
Right.
That's definitely like a top fiver for me. But it's just like I feel like the vibe to that versus something like a Block Wars thing where Block Wars is my neighborhood. I've said it before, but like that's my element more or less. Is just like when I do have like a team I vibe with, it feels so much sweeter there, so to say.
Yeah, because
I don't get to hang out with like most of the people I team with in Block Wars that much. But like for
True.
Mayhem, like I talk to Red like every now and then a decent bit. Like I talk to Sandwich a decent bit,
Right.
or C of course.
Right.
But for like something like Blue Bears 10, where it's like I only really talk to those guys at most once a month. It's, when that happens and comes together, and just a good time. It's, feels nicer to me in a way.
I do think something that's appealing as well that we didn't really mention for, I guess, PB, Mayhem as well, and maybe even Origins, is that with a bit more of a competitive edge to the event, there's a lot more options for you to team with your friends at the same time, right? In a Block Wars, you are never being teamed with Red, Sandwich, and 4C at the same time. That's not balanced. But Mayhem, that's fine. PB, that's fine.
That is fair. That is one thing I will concede on, is that like to get a team like that for like my Mayhem team, where I won, like no, I'm never really getting that with Block Wars. That is like the one slight downside, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. It's fun. Like when I do play Origins, like this last Origins team I had, really fun. That's my favorite Origins teams. Well, actually, probably not the favorite, but it's like definitely
up there.
Top 2. Yeah, top 2. Because I've only played 2 times, but
nice, good one.
But like I really enjoyed that. That was fun. Or like when I got a team with pals, John, Misty, Aimston in them for when I subbed in for Origins. Like that was also like great.
Hell yeah.
And when I'm talking about like Block Wars 11 and Rookies 3 and Block Wars 10 and stuff, that's not to like discount those at all, of course. It's just it's I'm hanging out with my friends regardless,
and
that's always great.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I sign up for these events to hang out with my friends, and also because it's good content. But like I don't go into these events being like I must win. Like I don't care. It's fine.
That is like a major aspect of why I have kind of like stuck around with Block Wars. Is that it does give me just a very good excuse to just hang out with my friends.
Exactly, it's fun.
Which is always fun. Yeah.
All right. That's mostly it for team stuff. I think now we can look at some other things.
Okay.
Is there a type of game mode that you always look forward to seeing in an event? Could be any event, or maybe one per event, or something along those lines.
Okay, I will say, not a big fan of parkour and PvP, just generally, because I suck at that. Kind of.
Fair.
I'm a little better at parkour, but when it comes to like more variety games, I'd say like a Blitz Hunt or a Party. I love those. I love those. Just like the quick, chaotic kind of format to it.
Right.
Blitz Hunt especially. I used to kind of dislike Blitz Hunt because like I didn't fully get it. But like I played the Origins recently and I got 7th in Blitz Hunt. And it's just like it's kind of clicking for me now.
Right.
The anticipation of someone almost finding you. Some guy spending like 3,000 hours in your room just looking for someone for some reason. It's like the anticipation, the like anxiety kind of around it because you don't want to be found, and eventually getting to be a hunter yourself. It's honestly convinced me like Blitz Hunt is the best game in Block Wars, and just in Minecraft events in general. I love it. It's great.
It's up there for sure. I think if you make a best Minecraft event, like across all the games combined, Blitz Hunt is like a no-brainer inclusion for most people. The only people that wouldn't is the people that are like very much about the competitive integrity of events. But I think for most people, that's a guaranteed inclusion. Just like how like Sands of Time is like a guaranteed inclusion, right? Like,
And it's just like with Blitz Hunt especially, it's a game anyone can really be good at. Because it's just like choosing a good spot and either sticking with it or knowing when to juke out.
There is a level to skill to it. I know it's brought up a lot as like, oh, it's RNG, and there is a lot of RNG. I mean, proven recently. I usually do pretty good at Blitz Hunt, and I got like 30th in the last like Block Wars 14. So sometimes you can get unlucky, but there is a level of skill. There is a reason why a Feinberg never drops out of like top 15 in a Blitz Hunt, right? There's a reason why some players can make certain moves and some people can't, and I think that's very interesting. While still making it like an anyone can do well type of game mode, but still a game where also like you can have control if you just play your cards right, which I think is very cool.
It's a game that I feel like embodies what just Block Wars is the strongest now.
It's especially interesting to think about like how that game originated, because Blitz Hunt, in terms of since Series 2, which is obviously before you came in, since I was the player manager and stuff, I think Blitz Hunt is the quickest game from concept to final we've ever made and will ever make ever. Because Blitz Hunt, we played Hunt in Block Wars Pride. I don't know if you remember, just like the OG Hunt was played in Pride. And then the event following Blitz Hunt was added. or Blitz Hunt was only concepted after it was played in Pride. Like, that time span, it's within a month, essentially. The concept to the game being done was a month, which is insane. Like, and for it to be the best game, it's crazy. Sometimes it does make me think, like, oh, wow, our best game was the quickest one to make. Maybe there's like a rule to that. Maybe we should follow more quick concepts.
Simplest ideas sometimes turn out to be the greatest. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of love for that game now. I used to not appreciate it enough. But like, it really is just like, it's perfect. Like,
it has its place, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has its place. It fits well in Block Wars. And I think the appreciation for the game will become more apparent for some people once it actually gets benched, right? For once, because right now it hasn't happened since it's been introduced, but at some point probably will. All right, then 2 more questions for the second to last one, I guess. What would you say is your least favorite Minecraft event experience ever, if you remember at least?
There's a few here. I mean, okay, so I put it into 2 categories. It's just like one category, boring, so to say. It's just like middle of the pack team, or maybe a team that did not the greatest, but was just kind of just a whatever feeling after. It's just like, yeah, I played. That was cool, I guess. For example, what event was it? I want to say, what was it? Block Wars 8? I was with Shadone. No, not that one. But whatever event I was with Shadone on. Block Wars 9. Yeah, Crafty Cookies. That was just like, I played that. It was all right, you know. It's playing Block Wars, a good time as usual. And then just afterward, I just kind of felt nothing about it.
And that's not necessarily because the people are like, there's nothing wrong with the people. It's just that combo that doesn't work, right?
It just didn't feel that interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I would say it's almost preferential to have a negative experience or a positive experience than something that was just in the middle to me.
To an extent, I can agree, maybe.
Because at least with like, not the best experience, but like something to learn from and talk about. Like with after Block Wars Rookies 1. So that was like outright one of my most negative experiences with the team. It's just not a good team. We couldn't really do anything about it. And we had probably 2 of the worst players in Block Wars history.
Right.
Obviously, no hate to Meowmini or Megalodon. I love them. But it is just like that feeling of just like kind of just outright frustration during the event. Is something of which like I haven't really experienced since. And it kind of helped me learn like, man, I need to take this shit less seriously.
Right. Yeah.
Because like that was like kind of ramping up to like me. That was like my third, fourth.
That would be your third, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And like I was getting into it, getting more in the competitive element, and that just taught me, oh hey, you should probably like, I don't know, consider more your team dynamics, you're teaming with, how seriously you're taking the event, that kind of thing. And like, I'm happy to have experienced that regardless.
Right.
If only, to, talk with Demi more, have her on my team, introduce, Meowmini and Megalodon to the event. Getting the team with Feinberg, even if like a negative experience, there's positives to come from that.
I mean, there's for sure, because all of those people played again at some point. Deme, obviously. I mean, kind of to circle back to one of your favorite teams. One of my favorite teams ever happened, and Deme was on it. Like, that was the Block Wars 9, my team with boost for Deme, Rain, and Sleepy. Like, I was sick, and if Deme hadn't been invited for Rookies, we probably wouldn't have had Deme in the roster to even be in for that, right? So.
Yeah, like if I just told you, like, no, I just don't want to do this team. Let's not invite any of these guys, and we just did something else. Like, that would have never happened. We never would have had any of them play again.
Exactly.
And I feel like with that event too, that was like me starting to talk to Feinberg more.
Right.
And starting to appreciate him more as like a top frag and as a leader.
Right.
But like even if like a very overtly negative thing like that, where like you heard me in call after the event. I was not too happy. With,
you had some Balkan rage. You could classify it as that nowadays.
I mean, I guess with like how I perform, how the team perform, my teammates. It's like that is outright my most negative experience, but it is also the experience I appreciate the most.
Yeah, because it has value, even if something goes horribly wrong, in terms of in the moment, the ripple effect, right, could be positive still sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, like we already mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Those people came back, and it helped at some point to have them back. It was good.
Yeah. But like for me, just like the experiences I enjoy the least are the ones where it's just nothing.
Yeah,
Where it's
nothing
like we play
burgers.
event and
Right.
yeah, nothing. Where it's like we play, we do whatever, and then just we leave, and that's it. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's how I spent my Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I mean, after like a little bit of afternoon, but yeah, no, like I'd rather something happen than nothing.
Right. Because like a dud team isn't really gonna lead to much happening, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have a bad experience, for example, most recent with the orange team from Blockwars 14, with Smant and etc. I like that team not doing super hot and me being told like, oh, they didn't have the greatest experience. Like, you know, I was like, okay, I'll check up with on them and be like, hey, just want to make sure you're still good, blah blah, whatever, to play more, etc. And kind of see like what can we do for you going forward. Opens the door for, you know, maybe doing something different, maybe getting them involved in a way that they like more, etc. Like Small Ant and CJ, for example. And that wouldn't have happened if they just did whatever. Like if that team got like fifth, they would have been whatever, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
don't care. They're just gonna not sign up next time or sign up next time, and nothing's gonna develop from that. But now it's like, oh yeah, okay, I know what Smance you know, looks forward to. I understand a bit more from what CJ looks forward to, etc. And it actually helps going forward with, you know, maybe that effect will only really be noticed a few events from now, but helps going forward with like what should we do, what can we do for these guys to make teams that are better for them, like what will improve their experience. And I think that's good. You know, they had a bad experience one time, and next time it should be better, which is good. Okay, and then finally, I guess this is a good closer, will be the last question as well. Do you have a goal with Minecraft events that you'd like to accomplish this year? Could be Block Wars roster related, could be skill performance related from you, could be maybe other events related, right? Like anything that you have as a goal this year that you'd like to accomplish or try to accomplish at least.
I mean, just keep doing the same thing I've always been doing. Just bringing more people to Block Wars, more eyes on it in general. I mean, I've already been like pretty successful at that to an extent with like bringing more Holostars in.
Of course.
And like I hope to expand upon that more. You know, more people from more communities. You know, the creator like landscape is always changing. There's always people popping up, and you know, out. And it'd be cool to get just more people in general. That'd be fascinating for the roster and interesting for people to see.
And our library of contacts expands as well with Block Wars sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like Haka, you met because of one block, I think, right? You like
Yeah.
contacted
He was
him.
originally going to be a guest.
Exactly. And then Haka then being invited to rookies opened the door for Shinri to make an appearance, and then Shinri and Haka playing opens the door for others potentially to play going forward in the future. And it's interesting how like Block Wars is the main factor now that comes into play as to how that develops. Because if you just had Haka added and you were like, at some point he'll come on one block, if he came on one block, maybe you'd get other Holostars, of course, involved, but that requires him to come on one block first. Whereas with you know Block Wars, now it happened a different way, and now we know, you know a couple of them now. I know, Haka and Shinri.
I know a couple more, yeah.
And like, that's a fun development. Or another very good example is V Shoujo. Like you knew their manager and then Giga, and that developed into a whole bunch of other people. Like we know like I don't know how many now, like 7, 6, I don't know.
And it's like a sizable chunk now, more than I was anticipating, really.
Exactly. And it's just like interesting to see how that develops, because like, I mean, for example, like an Apricot from V Shoujo, we know them now. They haven't played Block Wars. They were supposed to, but they haven't played. But we know them. Like that's another person. You're like, oh, well, I guess for a future event, maybe they can make a return, or maybe they can make a re-debut more so, rather, right? Yeah, I think that's interesting. I do think, I mean, that's just a solid goal. I don't think anything we've been doing is bad. I don't think anything we need to like majorly adjust. I mean, there's some internal ideas that we've spoken about that will not be published, of what maybe could change or happen this year. And we'll see how that potentially develops, right? Maybe we'll see a difference, or maybe we won't. I don't know. And maybe we'll see someone really cool get added to the roster, or maybe we'll just be chilling. Maybe we just stick to the friends of the people that are already in, or maybe we will
even if we like ended up not really expanding that much, like if we did like stagnate a little, so to say, I feel like we have such a unique selection of characters already.
Mm-hmm.
That like for a while we would just be good.
Yeah, we'd be fine.
So because we have like, I think people haven't. I mean, either I wouldn't say like underestimate, but like, or at least like don't really notice just how much things have changed since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
So because like you got to think back to Pride event. So in blockwars 7 and 8, mostly Minecrafter heavy.
Almost exclusively Minecrafters, yeah.
Yeah. But like, as you like look at like newcomers coming in, me inviting people, bringing them in for like rookies or chaos or for regular events and that kind of thing, you'll notice that there is just like a general trend towards the event becoming more variety infused. So you can even feel it with like very, very recent events where it's like near half the roster is variety people. From like me and Wolfei's like collective,
right.
connections kind of thing.
It's interesting for me because like my roster of contacts has expanded like exponentially pretty much since your involvement for with blockwars, which at this point, I mean, we've said this in the past, in call, like if there is ever an instance where you'd have to like take a break for a while from hosting things, I can now handle myself. But I wouldn't be able to do that without your help. But now I can because like I know a lot of these people. I can actually reach out, etc., etc.
And another interesting thing is that like let's say hypothetically for that Pride event, you just decided not to invite me, or if I just didn't have you on Block Wars, and we actually got chatting. I mean, on one block,
right?
And we actually got chatting. Like the event as it would be right now would be so radically different. It's honestly hard to imagine what even roster would look like.
Yeah, because like the idea for rookies, I think, did exist because Saikuno suggested it at the event before you joined, partially. So that would have still happened, but the result of that roster would have been entirely different.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get someone like a Joe Bart, right, who's now a most iconic player.
Joe Bart. You wouldn't get Giga. You wouldn't get most of the VTubers in the roster without me being here. And to an extent, like even like direction for the event a bit has been impacted by a more variety focus.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes. I think the main event that had impact was blockwars 9, which I'll just pull it up on my end, see who was actually in blockwars 9. I do think there was a good amount of variety, but I don't remember how many there actually were. Let me see. Blockwars 9. If you look at blockwars 9, you have the red team being all Minecrafters, the orange team being pretty much all Minecrafters, yellow team has Joe Bart, of course, green team's all Minecrafters, aqua team has Line Chew, the blue team has Simple Flips and Fur, but Fur was already in. My team is Deme being there is obviously very much variety, and then a pink being Minecrafters. This is before like the variety influx really happened, because this is also before we decided that we were going to become a variety event, right? But like, it is already noticeable to an extent. Like, this is a regular Block Wars, and you see Deme in the roster, you see Rainho in the roster, you see Joe Bart in the roster. Like, clearly there's something that happened, something developed already, and it's just like that level of development just went further and further and further, because literally the event after, there's your Blue Bears team, right, which has Handsome Joe on it, like for variety, and like technically Sneak, and like still Line Shoes in this roster, and like Joe Bart I think is also still in this well, he's on your team. There's Super TFs on my team. Like that development just still kept going, and it just only went further and further the more we had the time to really make things develop, which is sick, honestly. I mean, that's just cool. So yeah, I think that's mostly it. Anything you'd want to bring up potentially as like a talking point, a quick little
I mean,
exit.
anything I would have wanted to talk about, I feel like we just brought up, we talked about already.
Okay.
So I'm good.
Okay, that's it then for the third episode of the Minecraft Event Podcast. This was Anthos and Alex Wolfeei. And we'll see who's on the next one. I don't know, but I hope everyone had a fun time watching. All right, final goodbyes.
Bye.
Bye.